This is my 2004 R53 Mini Cooper S, and in today's video I'm going to show you exactly how I made this, my custom rear seat delete. Now it's fair to say that this isn't just any old normal rear seat delete, and I'm going to show you exactly everything I've done and every step I took to make my rear seat delete look like this and function like this. There's some pretty cool, unique features of my rear seat delete that I thought myself, that I got inspiration of from others. So I will show you exactly how I made everything in this video. So watch to the end to see how I've made what, in my opinion, is one of the best rear seat deletes for an R53 Mini Cooper S. Right, so first things first, let's go over the plan. So rather than just throwing a flat panel in here, I actually wanted to make use of the space we've got. The first task is to create the main structure, which will be a wooden frame, and then there will be one main piece here that will bolt directly to the original rear seat mounting points, so I'm not having to drill into the car, and it will be fully reversible. Then I'll build the rest of the frame off of that, creating two large storage cupboards where the rear seats used to be, and one large storage compartment where the boot floor is. This will then be separated into three separate compartments, but with only one lid. I will also add two designated spots for 1 litre bottle of oil and coolant, so they'll never be flying around and leaking when I'm driving. The main pieces of the rear seat delete will be made out of plywood, and then the whole thing can be covered and finished properly in black interior carpet, so it should look like it actually belongs in the car. Okay, now we've got the plan together, let's get to work. But first things first, I want to show you some special fixings I've got to make this boot build a bit more special. Okay, so in this box is all the fixings and some little extras to make my boot build a little bit more personalized. As you can see, I've got some bonnet latches, which might be a bit weird considering they're not going to go on the bonnet, but we'll get to them in a minute. We've also got the pins with some brackets that I've had to sort of widen the hole to fit this long pin bolt. And then I've also got these, again, with some custom brackets, which I've had to drill out a bit wider, which are again bonnet pins. And I've got 4 of those. Now, you might be thinking, what the hell are these going to be for? Well, let me show you. So in the plan, we said we wanted cupboards for storage. Well, now we need to make sure that they stay closed and secure when we want them to. And that's where these bonnet pins and latches will come in. The boot section will have 2 bonnet latches to open the large single lid, and the 2 rear seat compartments will each have 2 bonnet pins. These will make sure that the compartments stay closed when I'm driving, but also make it really easy to access when I want to. So these are all the fixings and everything that we're going to need to make this a little bit more personalized, make some little storage areas and tidy it up a bit, make it look really cool. Right, so the next step is to cut this wood. Okay, so now it's time to test fit this piece, which should fit in at the front here. Just like that. That is a perfect fit. All the way snug that end, all the way to this end. That is perfect. And then that piece over there will fit behind this beam in the middle. Now we know this one fits. Let's see if this one will squeeze in. So this is going to have to be a very tight fit. If my measurements are correct, that is a wedge fit. That's how good of a measurement that was. And what my plan is to use these original bolt holes, is 2 in the middle and 1 at either side, to drill through here to hold this to the car, and that'll be the main structure beam, and then everything will come off of this. So there'll be 1 across the top here to bolt to these ones, 1 going through the middle, and 1 either side that'll attach to that beam, and obviously it'll all be combined together by the plywood on top. Right, so I've now got the main support piece, and I've drilled a hole either side. The bolts that are going to mount to the car, you can see they're not long enough to go through the wood and have enough thread the other side to go into the car. So I got this drill bit to basically, I sort of drilled around, so these can sit sort of flush. So not only do they now sit flush with the piece of wood, it gives us extra thread. So now is the first test fit. So this is the first piece that's going in the car. Let's try and creep this in like so. We know it already fits like that. It's just whether I've drilled the holes in the right locations. And that is threading, so that's a good sign. Just like that. For paint, But oh my god, I'm so happy that that is a fit. It's a perfect fit. The carpet fits nice and flush behind there because I'm not taking this carpet out. This is just going to line under where the boot cupboard is going to go. Okay, so we've now measured out that the beam across the front of the rear seat delete fits. This is the central support brace. So I'm now going to bolt this to this front piece, and then we can refit it to the car and measure out where the two side braces are going to go. And then we can get all of that bolted to the central frame brace that's already in the car. And then once that's all bolted in, we can then put the brackets in and retest fit it. Okay, so now this piece is fully bolted in. We can go test fit it back to the car and then make the measurements for the two side strut pieces. Let's go put this back in the car. We've got this piece in. As you can see, it lines up just about. It will push closer, as you can see. So we're going to get the brackets, these ones in, to pull that into place. One on both sides. Once this middle section's in, we can then put that piece down on that side and this one down on this side to finish off the main bit of support. Let's get this fitted. Right, so this piece is now secured in place. It's all nice and firm. So I'm going to need two brackets this side as well. So we need to now measure up where we want these to sit, probably around there-ish. And then same with this one. Then we should be the next step to finishing this rear seat delete. A bit more time consuming than just a piece of plywood over the top, but it should hopefully be a bit cooler, just because I'm putting the extra effort in, really. So let's get these other braces in and we can go from there. Okay, so the brackets are in on this side and also on this side. So the main rear seat delete frame is in. So yeah, I'm super chuffed with how this section has come out. As you see, not very great weather for it at the moment. The frame is in. We've got the only bit left to do is this piece. Basically, you're going to have two pieces like this, like what we showed in the diagram. But this is a whole piece is going to be a lid on top of it, and it's all going to lift up. You might be thinking, how am I going to get to the battery? Well, I'm going to have to make a cut in the carpet, sort of along this seam, so this central bit flips up. So now I'm using some cardboard and a contour gauge to get some precise measurements for these very difficult edges and tricky cuts that I'm going to have to make. Now I would highly recommend a contour gauge if you're going to do a rear seat delete yourself, because it made a massive difference getting such precise cuts for the top panels. And now we've got all of the measurements, we can start tracing onto the wood. Now I went for some 9mm plywood because that was just the best thickness that I thought I could find for the money. And now we can finally start making these cuts. Now this is it, there's no going back. We have made the cuts now. This is gonna have to work. Okay, so a little update on where we are at. So this piece of wood is now bolted to this. Obviously this one main beam going across is the one that's holding pretty much everything in place. This piece of wood has a screw through there, a screw through there to attach this to that. Then this one, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but in there we basically got one of those brackets in there slightly bent, because as you can see it is at a slant. That's in there, so you've got two screws into this piece and then two screws into this piece to attach this to that. So now this is more secure in place. Now we've cut the boot piece, so we've got this piece that will slide in like that. I know it's not perfect, but a lot of this gap we've had to leave to allow for the carpet to wrap around it. And then you've got this one which will go in there like that. You might think, how is this going to mount? Well, I forgot about extending this piece of wood out that way. So I've got a couple of these which I need to create to basically bolt this to that, and then a piece that I can then drill down to mount this, because these side pieces will not be lifting up. They'll be mounted permanently, and then this big piece will be the piece in the middle, and then that will lift up like that. The one thing I also even anticipated, the width of this piece of wood. So as you can see, when you lift it up, there's nowhere for the hinges to go because it's in the middle of the piece of wood. So I'm now going to have to train this down, probably at that much, and then that piece will permanently be mounted to here, and then we can open up them out there. But first things first, we need to get these side pieces mounted in permanently, so then I can measure up to make the cut for this strip, get these ready, put them in, mount those side bits, and then it's on to the next step. Right, so now we've got these two pieces. So one will mount like that around there, one will mount like that around there, then that will allow us to bolt this piece in, so that stays there, and this piece in, so that stays there. It'll look something like that, and then we can get that measured up to make the final cuts. So let's get those brackets mounted in. Now I understand that this looks like a little bit of a bodge, just putting these two little pieces of wood at the end to try and make it all work, but I really did not want to recut that middle piece of wood, so it is what it is. We're going to have to make it work. Okay, so we've got this piece in and this piece in, so now these slide right in. Now we've got something to drill to and something to mount them to, as well as this end as well. So that one will go like that, this one look like that. So these are ready to go in. Okay, so we've made the measurement for the cut, and then hopefully it's right, because I don't want to have to do this all over again. Okay, so it's now in the car. Cut seems to be all right. So effectively this will now be bolted down, and the flap will lift up from here. As you can see, now there is a correct amount of space for the hinges. So now we need to get this bit bolted in, then we get the hinges on and see if they actually fucking work. And now it's time to finally get these pieces bolted in and try and make the hinges work. So we started out marking out where we wanted to mount the hinges, then we can firstly get them screwed into the frame and then to the plywood lid. Once that was mounted in, we can then cut the bigger pieces for the rear seat delete. So obviously we just did the part for where the boot space is, and now we need to do the bigger pieces for where the rear seat delete is. Now this is going to be 4 separate pieces cut out of one piece of wood, so there's a lot of cutting and it needs to be super precise, but hopefully with a bit of luck my measurements are correct. Okay, so I've had a change of plans from the last clip. As you can see, the hinges are now on top, nice and visible, and the hinge works brilliantly. The reason I didn't mount them in here is because every time I lifted it up, it got to about here, and then this piece would catch on that piece and it wouldn't let you move it up anymore. And also there was this massive gap all along here to allow space for this hinge to actually work and function. Next job for the rear, before we can get the carpet on, is to get these mounted. Now these are bonnet releases, which we're going to effectively use as handles that will mount to this piece of wood like that. Okay, so as you can see, the brackets are now in. We've encountered a little problem though. So let's get to cutting the piece for the rear seat and fitting that in. Right, so the pieces are now in. They are a okay fit. I've had to draw this line here because I didn't cut it enough. So this to get it to sit flush, it actually overlaps by that much. I'll then also need to make another cut because, as you can see, the hinge needs to start there. This all the way across needs to be cut because that will be solid mounted to this, just like this is. Still more cuts to do, but that should in theory be the last ones. Right, so we have made the extra cuts, so let's test fit these in the car. We're having some difficulties with fitment, but we're gonna just have to make it work. And we are in. So there is some dodgy cuts in here for sure, but it is in. It does fit. So now we're gonna get these back pieces here permanently bolted in, the side piece bolted in, and then the woodworking is done. Apart from cutting the holes for the bonnet latches, I am so glad because I didn't enjoy that one bit. Not one bit. Let's get to finally mounting that in, making sure it all works. I'll get back to you when it's done. Okay, so we're on the home stretch. We get to finally screw these pieces in and make sure it all fits in place. And we can put the rear seat delete cupboard hinges on and hopefully they all work okay. I know the hinges are going to be visible, but at this point in time, I just want to get it done. It's looking really cool how it is currently looking. You can finally start to see a finished product and it's really making me happy that it is going to plan. Good news is that it fits. There are some gaps, there are some imperfections, but it fits. Right, the rest we can smooth out later. It fits, it works, all the cupboards open. Let me show you. Back one opens like we already knew. Come on the side. We have cupboard number 1 and cupboard number 2. How cool is that? I'm so glad that it actually fits. These gaps can be filled out with carpet when it's done. It's going to look really cool. Right, so the next steps on the rear seat delete build are installing these. Now, these are the bonnet pin releases that we're going to use. We've got 4 of them, and they're going to go 2 on this one and 2 on this one. That is what we're going to install first. We need to install the hinges. They're going to go attached to the front here, so it'll effectively look sort of like this. We'll then have to drill a hole, and this pin bit will sit in the plywood. So let's get the hinge mounted first. Doesn't really matter where because we can adjust the height by moving this bar up and down to our needs. It just needs to be precise enough to this when we mount this in the top piece of wood so that when it closes, it all closes together, all nice and neatly. Let's get those hinges mounted. We're on to the next step. So it turns out making these bonnet pins work was not the easiest of jobs. You had to be ultra precise with your placement of where the hinges are going to go so that when the lid comes down that it goes to the right position. As you can see, the pin latches are in, but what I'm now going to do is use a white pen, put some white paint on the top of here, so when I close the lid, it will put a mark exactly where the center of that is, and that's where I know exactly where the center of this is. So when I drill into that top piece, this will sit, in theory, exactly central to that. And then when I close the lid, it should close on these. So fingers crossed. Okay, so I put a little white dot on there, and as you see, there and there, it's transferred over to the lid. So I can now use those holes to drill a big enough hole to fit these in, and then they should be able to mount. We're going to do this side first, and then we'll copy it onto this side after, assuming it works. So let's get those holes drilled. Right, so as you can see, I've marked out the 2 circles where the holes are going to be. Now, I don't need to tightly fit this. They just need to be smaller than this edge, but be big enough to fit this black piece in the middle. Right, okay, I'm sorry I didn't show you, but it didn't go to plan. So we had to get a drill bit and slowly drill it out, sort of like that. and then sand it back. But these should now fit in there. So let's try and fit it in and see if it goes down on that pin. And if not, well, I may as well end the video here because I've ruined the whole piece of wood if not. So now just making sure it fits. Once you raise this pin, that is enough. And we're in. It works. So now we have a fully closing and opening hatch. I'm so happy it's finally done. Now I just need to do the same that side and then the big latches at the back. And we need to take it all apart again so we can carpet it. But this is a big step. Big step. Right, so the next stage of the rear seat delete is done. We've got this cupboard and this cupboard both complete. The bonnet pins are both in, and the only one left is the rear boot one, where we need to put the bonnet latches in. But before we do any of that, I wanted to get on to some painting, because underneath all of this is just wood. We're going to paint it with some black wood paint, and that should hide all of the sort of wood colouring. Then we can finish off this boot latch for the rear boot piece. And then once that's done, we can get to finally getting all of these top pieces out again and wrapping them in carpet. So it's now time for some tedious painting, and I did not enjoy this one bit. The paint was really thick and it was really bad quality paint, to be honest, and I just didn't enjoy doing it. And the car smelled like paint for a good while after doing this. It was necessary because I didn't have the carpet to wrap underneath it. So once we've done the boot, we can now move on to the rear seat delete area and start painting all of the frame and the underside of the cupboard lids as well. But now the painting is done, we can get to fitting the bonnet latches for the boot piece. Now cutting these out wasn't actually that difficult. Right, so as you can see, we've got the two latches in and they do work, completely functional, and really happy with them. However, they are sitting way too high at the moment. The reason for this, if I pop them up, the little pins, they need to go lower. Problem is, they're already as low as they can get. I've already trimmed down the pins, but they are going to need trimming more. So this metal pin can go through that hole, so we just need to bring this lower. Not too much, but yeah, I need to cut the end of that one and that one off, and then it should sit flush. So once that's done, we can then sand down the edges of this piece so the carpet can wrap around, because currently, like here for example, we've got a nice big gap which may look bad now, but it's a big enough gap for the carpet to wrap around the corners in, so it should fill out most of that gap. Let's get sanding these pins down. Hopefully that will then put this wood piece as low as we can get it. Right, so I've now cut one to size. It's a bit bodged, but we'll tidy it up. We just want to make sure it fits first. Yes, my God. So as you can see, they are fully in and working now. The cupboard is fully functional. And yes, I know there's a gap here. I'm not too bothered about it. We can take these panels out, start covering them in the fabric. So before we get to covering them in the fabric, we need to make cuts around the edge of the wood with a jigsaw so we can make sure that the carpet has enough space to tuck in behind the lid when it lifts up and down. So as you can see, the cuts have now been made and there's a nice gap all the way around the edge which the carpet can sit in when we lift the lid up. Now we can start removing all of the trim pieces that we want to wrap in the carpet, ready and prep them for the carpet to be wrapping and going on. But before we get to the carpet, there was one little thing that I wanted to do, which was going to be pretty cool. I wanted to get this old oil bottle that I had and cut a little hole in these side pieces so we can fit them in as their own designated 1 litre oil and 1 litre of coolant spot. So I took the side pieces out and traced around the oil bottle, and then got the jigsaw out again and made those cuts, sanded down the edges, and as you will see in a minute, the bottles fit perfectly. So let's get to wrapping all of these panels. First off, I'm cutting the carpet to the sizes I need for each individual panel, as we're not going to be wrapping them together. It's easier that way. And this was a very long and tedious process, but it was necessary to make sure that the carpet was cut to size. And once that was done, we could then get on to the gluing, and this was a messy job and I did not enjoy it one bit, but the finished result was very much worth all of this hard effort because it looks absolutely amazing. As you can see here, all the panels have now been wrapped and they are ready to go back in the car. The fitment is like a glove. I'm so happy with how well they look in the car, and I can't wait to screw them in. And speaking of screwing them in, that's the next step. So let's get all of these panels bolted in, and then we can show you the final result of what this rear seat delete looks like. And honestly, for the money I paid to get all the materials and just do it myself, it was unbelievable, the results that I got from it. And just like that, it is done. Just look at how good that looks. I'm so over the moon with the final result. Everything works, it all functions. You've got this cupboard at the back that lifts up, and then you've got those ones behind the seats, which if you come back here, you pop the pins and up it goes, and then same that side, and then again just drop it down, connect the pins. You've got the oil and the coolant. This is a temporary thing, it's not in place permanently, but it works for now just to make things less likely to roll around everywhere. But I am so happy with the final result. So that is what the final result of my rear seat delete looks like, and yeah, I'm so over the moon with it. Hopefully this video shows you exactly how I've done it, and you can copy it too if you're interested. I'm sure a lot of you can do it a lot better than I have, but it gives you the idea in the first place of how to get this sort of result from just doing things yourself, and I hope it gives you the motivation to just try do some stuff. I'm not a carpenter, I don't work with carpet or anything like that. I'm a graphic designer. I don't do any of this sort of physical handy stuff, but I wanted to give it a go, and the result, as you can see, isn't really that bad. So let me know in the comments what you think about my rear seat delete, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It really helps me out because I want to do more stuff like this going forward, more long form content, and hopefully you guys enjoy it enough so I can keep doing that. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.